This is a quick video introduction to how to use Godot and what it looks like, how we open files, how we save files, and how we move things around. So this is the Godot game engine. This is what you see at the very beginning. You may not see these games because these are my games that I've been working on before. To create a new game, click on New. You need to add a title. We'll just say example game 2 because I already made one. And then notice that it wants to save this game into this folder, but it will not let us do this because this folder has lots of things in it already. So you need to click Create Folder, and that will make the new folder in that folder. If you don't want this new game to be in this folder, please first click on Browse and choose a new location. But it's just going to make an example game 2 folder at this location. Leave it on compatibility mode so that we can make games for desktop, mobile, and web platforms. And click on Create and Edit. Now give it a second and it's going to load up the main Godot screen. Now keep in mind that Godot is able to make 2D and 3D games, and it's a very, very powerful platform, but there's a lot going on. So for us, and as a very simple introduction, we're going to stay with 2D and we're not going to do 3D like that we see right here. So this is 3D mode. If you notice on the tabs at the very top, you're able to change between 2D, 3D, script, and asset library. You should, mostly for our purposes, we will work with 2D and script. There is no problem with clicking these buttons. You can change anytime you'd like to, but keep in mind we will be working in the 2D and script sections. The script is where we write the rules, the 2D is where we make the artwork and position things where they need to be. As you open up the 2D window, we'll see this right here. We'll have our main viewport. We'll have this side here with our scene tree, and down here are our file resources. So the viewport, what we can see, and the color is not perfect, but this blue purple rectangle, sometimes some people have a hard time seeing this. This is what the player will see. So this is, think of it like the player's camera. Everything inside of this rectangle zone is your game that people will see. Everything outside of it is not shown on the screen. It doesn't mean it's not there. It can be, but it will not show visibly. So keep that in mind and understand that if we change the settings, which I'll show you in another video on how to change the screen size or the orientation, you could make it like a phone, a tall, long phone, then that would change the shape of this rectangle. But for our purposes, our game is going to be like this, and we can zoom in a little bit so we can see better what we're doing in that area. Remember, 2 fingers navigates around, 2 fingers zoom in and out to see closer and farther away. You can also use these different options up here to zoom in, zoom out, and very important, please keep it on select mode here. The other options will generally cause problems unless you know what you're doing. So please just keep your mouse cursor on select mode. On the left side, we have the scene tree. It's called a tree because we have objects that are parented to each other. So one object will have a child object, which can have another child object, and the whole tree depends on what the other part of the tree is doing. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. But the first thing let's do, just to get started, because we're starting a game for the first time, let's create a scene which is just our level scene, this is using this box, considering this box as the user's view. We'll click on 2D scene, and now we have node 2D. This node 2D doesn't really do anything. It doesn't change anything, it just saves this as the root of our tree. So we're going to name this to be level, because this just means this is our level, our game. Now, inside level, we can add objects. We can add a character here, a tree, like an actual living tree here, a house over here. And as we add these things, they will be added to this level tree. But we don't have anything to add yet. So right now, down here in the file system is where we grab things to move into our game. We can take anything we want to and click and drag in. But unfortunately, there's only one thing that Godot gives us. Well, they give us this little icon file. And they say, if you want to drag it in, no problem, you can use it. Cool. And you can use it again and again. And now I have, if you see, I clicked and dragged 3 icons in, and you have 3 icons that are all parented, with this line here, parented to the level. So each one can move individually. None of them are connected to the other one. And if you want to see what parenting really means, let's take this one and parent it to this one just by clicking and dragging. And this one and parent it to this one. Now I can move the child, the very most child, I can move that anywhere I want to, no problem. But if I move the parent of that child, they move together. And if I move the parent of that child, which is the parent of that child, then these guys all move together. So you can see how objects can be connected to each other or disconnected based on how they are oriented in this tree. So I don't want them to be parented to each other, so I'm going to parent them all back to the root here. So then these guys are not connected anymore, but they are connected to level. Okay. However, I want more resources. I don't want to have a whole game made of just icon, icon, icon. So first things first, I'm going to delete 2 of these icons. How to delete? You can do a 2-finger click or right click. 2-finger click, and you can choose delete node. You can also do Command X to delete as well. So Command X on Mac. So there we go. Now I have 1 icon left, and I want to add a new resource. If you have resources, you can go online, you can find pictures, anything that you want to use. All of them are going to be compatible with Godot, so it's great. I already have an example folder with 2 pictures that I found to add to the game. I have a cat and I have Mario. So how do I get these into my game? That's as easy as clicking the cat picture and dragging it over onto this file system window here. Just drop it off, and now it's in my game. And the same thing with Mario, click and drag, and there we go. So now I have cat and Mario as resources that I can use in the game. Now, just because I clicked and dragged it in does not mean it's actually in my game window. Nothing is here yet. I need to also click and drag these resources in, and we can see the size is dependent on the resource itself. So if you want to change qualities of this brings us to our next part. For example, Mario is way too big. The cat is a good size, but Mario is just too big. So if you go to, and before I continue a little bit too far ahead, but as you notice, as I dragged this into here, this is artwork. But when I dragged it into the game, it created a node. That is not the same thing as artwork. It's actually got some more logic behind it. So it's, yes, we see the artwork, but it's artwork and some special logic that we can use later. So yes, we have an icon node, a cat node, and this terribly named PNG image Mario node. But Mario's too big, so I click on the Mario node here, and then I can go over on the right side on the inspector. And this is where I can change all the details that I want to. I can change everything. We can change him to be completely the opposite colors. We can change him to be deleting objects behind him, all sorts of crazy stuff. But the simple stuff is usually found in this Node 2D section, Transform. And that just says, do we want to change the position, rotation, and scale of the object? So I especially want the scale of Mario to be smaller. Now you could do this in 2 ways. You can click on the scaling tool, which is as easy as just click and drag in. You can click on the cursor mode and find a corner and click and drag in also. Or you can go into the scale over here and change this number manually. So we can say, okay, I want him to be 0.2% the size that he was. And there we go. All of those options work. They're all fine. So you can manually resize him. Notice how when I'm resizing him, those numbers on that window are actually automatically changing. And if you want it to be perfect, notice that when I'm manually resizing, the numbers are not equal. So it actually made him 27% the width, but 29% the height. So it'd be easier to do as we did before. Okay, so we have that. Good stuff. We have our resources, and let's just have a very quick explanation for how does game logic work. So this window here, as we said, is kind of like the artwork window in the 2D section. It's where we put things that we want to go. I want this part of the game to go there. I want this character to be here to start. And then the question is, how do they move in game? What kind of logic are we going to see? So if I want Mario to always be moving down to the bottom of the screen, and then to bounce back up, and then to hit the top and bounce back down, and just do this forever, then that needs to happen in the scripts section. But just clicking here is not enough, because we need to connect the script to Mario. So it's pretty easy. We can find Mario's node here. I'm going to rename him because I don't like this name, so Mario. And then if I have my Mario node selected, I can just click on Add Script. And before we do that, I'm just noticing we did not yet save this whole scene. This whole scene is with everything in it, and we should save before we continue. So let's press Command S, and it asks us, how do we want to save it? We want to save it as level.tscn. Yes, this is my level. And then we can continue. So we'll click on Mario, and we'll click Add a Script. And then it says, okay, do you want to make a GD script? Yes. Language, which is Python, or effectively Python. Sprite 2D. So don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. Make sure template is selected because it makes your life a little bit easier, and just make sure default is selected. So this is normal. If you don't see this, these two you want to have. And then we will go down to create. And now it made a new file down in our game file window. We actually see that file down here, mario.gd. And we are now in this screen where we can edit this mario.gd file. So I'll go back to 2D view just to show you. We have Mario, and on Mario's scene tree item on the node, we see that he has this little icon now. He has a script. And that means whatever's inside that script is going to affect Mario, and only Mario. So it can make Mario bounce up and down, but it's not going to affect the cat. If I want Mario to bounce up and down and up and down and up and down, but I want the cat to be always where the mouse cursor is, for example. So where I move the mouse, I want the cat to be where the mouse is. Then that would be different logic, and it's going to be in the cat script, which we will make later. But the Mario script, we just want Mario's rules to be. So Mario has his own script. We click here, and that brings us to the script tab where we are editing mario.gd. So everything in this area here, and don't worry about this right now, but everything in here is the logic that will command and control Mario's behavior. Now, if we want to change that for cat, we go to 2D, we click on cat, or we can click on cat here, and then we can click on add a script. It's asking us the same thing. Do you want to make the default node type for cat? Yes, I do. And now we have in our script editor, remember it brought us over to script, Now we have cat.gd and mario.gd, and I can switch between these and change the logic as needed. Now, just for ease and very quick example, I'm just going to go to mario.gd, and I'll make a very, very fast rule. Position.y plus equals 1. That means the y position of Mario will always be going up. And if you remember from previous games design units, if we go back to the 2D view, this is 0 for y, and this is getting bigger. As it goes down, it gets bigger. So what that means is Mario should move, oops, sorry, I don't want to drag that. Mario should move down with this rule. Position of Mario, remember we're in the Mario script, position of Mario, y position of Mario should get plus equals 1, should get bigger. And I put this inside the process function, which is just going to happen over and over and over and over forever. So what we should see is Mario should move step by step by step down. So let's press Command S. And how do we test this scene? Well, let's go back to 2D view. And we want to make sure that the game understands that I want to test the level scene. So when I click on play, it says, please confirm. No main scene was selected. What scene do you want to test, basically? And I just say select current. Yeah, I want to test the level scene, please. And now we'll see what my game looks like. And in my game, we have Mario is now moving down forever. He doesn't stop though, so bye-bye Mario. We'll talk more about the rules of coding and if functions and checks and all sorts of other things to be able to make Mario bounce and the cat follow the cursor and all sorts of stuff like that. But for now, that's the very basics. I hope you understand that the 2D view is where you can see what's going on. You can see your nodes, and then you can also connect a script to a specific node with a specific set of rules that affects only that node. So that's the very important basics of Godot. We will get to the more complex coding stuff later.